So we in and exhale only through our right nostril. And taking this complete breath, where you expand and you contract. We're taking you this morning through a breath series that allows for a clear mind, clear thinking, as well as a calm nervous system and a relaxed heart. And then we slowly bring our left hand back into our lap. Right hand comes up. On your right hand, you bend your index and your ring finger. You will use your thumb and the inside of your right ring finger. You close your right nostril. Inhale and exhale left. Take your ring finger, inhale and exhale right. Close your right nostril, in and exhale left. Close your left nostril, in and exhale right, and continue this pattern. We're switching our breath pattern again. We're extending now the index, middle, and ring finger to the ceiling. All these fingers touch. We exhale first out of our left nostril. Inhale left. Closing our left nostril with the pinky, exhaling right. Inhaling right. Closing our right nostril, exhaling left. Inhaling left. Exhaling right. Keeping this pattern going. You want to breathe in a way that you hardly hear your breath. There's no tension, no stress, no forcing. Just the natural in and out flow. And we will, when we come the next time and exhaling out of our left nostril, we will start to switch our breath pattern again. When you are done, you slowly open your eyes. You bend your middle finger down on both hands. Thumb crosses over and you touch the tip of your ring finger. And now you take a deep inhalation. You suspend your inhalation. You hold the breath in while you're pumping your navel as long as it's comfortable. And if you can't hold your breath anymore, you're exhaling very slowly out of both nostrils. So it looks like this. And then you exhale slowly. You take the next inhalation. You suspend the breath and you pump the navel without any breathing. There's no breath. It's just pumping of the navel. As long as you can. Right now, you're actually purifying and cleansing your liver. Just keep going. And the first pranayama exercises, rebalanced, activated, and now you're stimulating, purifying, detoxifying. Just complete your last round. And when you are done, you bring your thumb to the tip of your ring finger and pinky, index and middle finger touch. Good. Okay. So that's your pran mudra. And now we want to purify our blood, stimulate our immune system. So what we do is the breath of fire. It's like as if you push air into your fireplace. You find a good steady rhythm. And the breath is equal in and out through the nostril. Like you sound a little bit like a steam engine. You're engaging your navel and diaphragm. So that's a breath. You're really hearing your breath. Take a deep inhalation. Suspend your breath, pull your perineum, sex organ, navel in and up. Pull the energy through your spine all the way through the head to the top of your head. Hold your attention there. And then exhale, relax your left hand into your lap, right hand on top. And just for 1 minute, in and exhale, relax through both nostrils. You might be present to some internal changes. Maybe your thoughts are more relaxed. Good. And in this state of consciousness, we are now ready to receive Namala.
Thank you, Siddhi. That was lovely. Good morning, beautiful ladies. Namaskaram. So a couple of announcements. One thing I figured out is that my ears must not be the same height because my glasses, though they get adjusted, they always go like this. I think I need an ear lift on one side. Oh God, the body. Two things. One is that for our in-person gathering on December 12th, which I hope all of you are coming to. Two ladies in town have offered their homes if someone needs to spend the night, either on the incoming or the outbound. So if you need housing, just let me know and we'll have a chat about that. But City and I are planning and we're looking forward to sharing a day in person. It's going to be so yummy and luscious. I'm just very excited about it. And the second thing is next week, we have our highlights and resources with Grace Kendrick, who is the Ayurvedic practitioner. And she will take us from 8, I forget what time you guys finish, from 8:45 to 9:15. She will talk to us about Ayurveda, what the practice is of Ayurveda and how it can be utilized in our daily life and why it is so important. So we'll plan to stay an extra half hour next week. If you can, you will really enjoy it. She's a very practiced practitioner and teacher of Ayurveda and also a yogi herself. So she has a lot of wisdom to share with us, and she will be with us on the 12th as well. So that's very nice. She's the one who is with Sheila hosting the Deep Listening Circle. If you've joined that, you will have seen Grace. I think she likes to be called Gracie. So today we are going to talk about time, the breath, and the lunar cycle. Hence all of this pranayama that Siddhi has led us through. This will become more apparent as I speak today as to why we just did 15 minutes of pranayama. So measured time as we know it is a construct of the more industrialized, more developed mankind, humankind. Early humans, early existence counted time according to nature. So we looked at the sunrises and the sunsets, the seasons by the torrential rains and the dry plains. There wasn't a clock hanging in your kitchen or on your wrist that told you what time of the day it was. You simply knew the passage of time by what was happening in the natural world around you. Time was about this relationship with the natural world. So our intersection with and our awareness of the natural world was very heightened in order for mankind to be in rhythm with what needed to be done in terms of in terms of planting the crops, in terms of harvesting, in terms of the full moon. There was a synchronicity that happened between the natural world and humankind. And as technology has come along, our relationship to that natural rhythm has decreased. Unless you make a great effort to stay in sync with the timings of the day without using your watch, you'll get a little lost. And it is a lost relationship that is something that keeps us in tune and has a very big impact on our breath, which we're going to talk about today. In the days when we weren't looking at a watch to tell us what time it was or a calendar to tell us what month we were in, human technology was not one of controlling or opposing or resisting. It was one of being in alignment with. We were not trying to change nature. We were simply following what was naturally happening. If it was an unusual year for rains or an unusual year for heat, whatever was happening, we had to take that as an allowance for how we would behave and what we could do. Now we have so many ways of controlling outcome that we don't imagine that necessarily the natural world has to impact us. And until a natural disaster comes along, we pretty much don't pay that much attention to it. But if we did, and we wanted to calculate the movement and speed of the earth in the cosmos and relate it to the number of hours in a year and the breaths in a day, we would find that if we breathe 15 inhales and 15 exhales per minute, our heart rate would be around 68 to 70, and that this would be in sync with the mathematics of the movement of the planet. That would be the natural rhythm that our breath would take if it was following the movement of the planet. So a simple 2-second inhale, which is fast actually, and a 2-second exhale bring us into this balance with the movement of the natural world around us. I would venture a guess that most of us, if we paid attention for a day to our breath, we would be surprised how often our breath gets out of sync based on what's happening around us, our agitation, our concern for something, that we're moving quickly, that we are not conscious of keeping our breath at a stable, consistent level, that our breath goes like this all day long. And when our breath does that, the energetics of our system is impacted, and the overall health and vitality of our system is impacted. There's something else, I haven't tried this, but I read that if we look at the sun just as it peaks on the horizon when it's starting to rise in the morning, that if we can take 30 breaths, if the pace of our breath is such that 30 breaths from the very first sighting of the sun to when it's fully just risen above the horizon, it would be 30 breaths. That's how long it takes the sun to get up, 30. So if you're breathing quickly, you're not going to be in sync with that. So I think we should try it and see if that works. But it's about bringing ourselves back into a natural pace that aligns us with the universe. And why is that important? Because we know that our body systems are the microcosm of the cosmos mathematically, and in the ways that there's a certain rhythm that happens, that if we look at the cosmos and then we look at ourselves, we can see we're just a microcosm of that. So if we're not following the natural rhythms of the cosmos, we're out of sync, and it's not healthy for us. In the Eastern philosophy and science, it's believed that we have a limited number of breaths in a lifetime. So if you're breathing quickly, you're using up your gas, and you're only going to get through X amount of time. If you're breathing with much slower, sustained, if we look at the animals in nature that have long lives, they breathe 7 times in a minute instead of 30 times in a minute. The amount of breaths that they take are much more sustained and elongated. So it is in our best interest health-wise for us to slow down our breath. And the fastest way for us to do that is to employ a pranayama practice similar to any of the practices that Siddhi led us through this morning. Any one of those or a series of those for several minutes will help to bring down the rhythm and the pace of your breathing so that you start to get back in sync with what is the natural rhythm that is where our body wants to be. It's really important. We don't want to use up our breaths unnecessarily due to stress, fear, anger. All of the things that we're trying to slow down are part of the slowing down of our breath. Eliminating those, many of those different reactions and emotions naturally will bring our breath into alignment. In India, we call time kala, and it is relentlessly part of our life. We cannot escape time. We can either decide that it's going to create an urgency in us, the acknowledging that we have a limited amount of breaths and a limited amount of time, either creates a urgency in you to start breathing in alignment with, to start living your life knowing that it has a limitation to it. And it'll either do that, or it'll bring you into a fruitlessness of what's it all about anyway. What does it matter? It matters because we have control over our own vitality simply through our breath. All of these other things that we talk about, the diets and the yoga and all of the things which are fabulous to have as a part of your life, we could improve all of those by simply addressing our breath first as the primary place that we enter into the way that we bring ourselves into alignment with the natural order and with how our body wants to be in its natural state. So either we adjust to that or our time runs out faster than it needs to. So our best tool for this is a pranayama practice of one sort of another. We talk about different dimensions and the notion, excuse me, that time is not linear, but that it's circular. And one way I like to think about time is if we look at time zones, we know that I'm having an experience with you at the same time right now, but I'm 12 and a half hours ahead of you. So my whole rhythm is in another whole place. And yet we've layered on top of one another, and it's possible through technology for us to recognize that time is actually going in this circle. It's not going away from us, it's going in a circle. And where you are on that continuum depends on where you are on the planet, where you are in your own cycle. It has many different things that will impact how it is that you're sensing the time, but time has its own circular behavior. So life and our breath, somewhere between 11 3/4 and 12 1/4 years is one solar cycle. It varies a bit depending on the rotation of the earth and the sun. If you complete 7 solar cycles, you will have completed 108 lunar or moon cycles. So that is to say, if you live to be 84 years and about 3 months, you will have completed 7 solar cycles and 108 lunar cycles. As I'm sure you know, because we've spoken about this, 108 is a very important number in the human system. We know we have 108 marmas, which are pressure points in our body. We know that in the spiritual journey, we use 108 beads on a mala for practicing any one of our mantras or of our chants. We know that our bodies are a microcosm of this cosmos that is the macrocosm, and that there's this relationship that's happening between the rotation and the movement of the sun and the moon and our bodies. And what happens? We follow that in the full moon. We know that for women, often our periods follow what's happening in the moon. We are affected by that movement. We know that. That's not a surprise to us. So if we understand that the math of the diameter of the sun and the distance between the earth and the sun is 108 times, and the diameter of the moon and the distance between the earth and the moon is 108 times. So this number 108 shows up in the cosmos, in our solar system, in many different measurements. So we start to understand that this measurement, which has been part of ancient Indian and Eastern science for millennium, was known that the 108, when it was first accepted as part of this science to the cosmos in relationship to the human design, it was the whole idea of chanting 108 chants, and the pressure points and all of that started well before technology gave us tools to measure that. How was that known? How did we know that 108 relates to us in ways that are not just happening in our body, but are happening in the cosmos? There's also a relationship between the speed of light, the planet movement, that it's been calculated from simple observation. This is how they figured out millennia ago, through simple observation, that the speed of light and planet movement could be calculated. It's the same when we start looking at things like the Egyptians and the pyramids, and how was the technology when tools were not available to us? How was it that we would know that information? Because there's a synchronicity between what's happening in this body and what can be measured and what's measured in the cosmos. It's quite magical, actually. So 108 is a sacred piece of numerology. We chant 108 mantras. We have 108 beads on the mala. The universe is created in symbols and numbers, and they're intertwined, and they show up in ourselves and they show up in the universe. So if we live to be 84 years and 3 months, if we get through those 7 solar cycles and the 1008 lunar cycles, something happens to our energetic system where it has matured to a certain point that we can flower, we can become enlightened or free after death, whether or not we've had a spiritual journey in this life or not. So for instance, in the Buddhist tradition, they believe that samsara, which is the returning and the continuing to have to learn the lessons and relearn the lessons until you go through enough lives to have accumulated all of the wisdom that you need to then be liberated into moksha or enlightenment, where you no longer have to come back in a body. Well, in the Eastern science of this, they believe that if you can acquire 84 years and 3 months, your body naturally, the physical body naturally has learned how to let go of the energetics so that your body can stay here and you can be finished. It's a great thing. You don't even have to have a spiritual journey or a practice of mantras and mudras and meditation every day. You just have to live to be 84 years and 3 months. That's all, ladies. So if you want to get to 84 years and 3 months, it's important that you take care of your breath, that you take care of your body such that the breathing allows you to not use up those breaths before you get to 84 years and 3 months, because liberation is a fabulous thing. And if we can get to it simply by tending this system that we are, why wouldn't we? So if I could suggest one thing to you that you concentrate on in your spiritual journey, it is to have a pranayama practice that allows you to have more control over the speed of your breath, so that each day you can actually breathe the amount of breaths that are naturally meant for your system, so that you can bring your body into alignment and a vitality and a health that allows you to get to a ripe old age of 84 years and 3 months. And then you're going to have a beautiful transition in your spirit. So I am going to leave you this week with the notion that adding a pranayama and containing yourself in that practice, committing yourself to that practice, is something that is life-changing. It's not simply about having another discipline, it's a life-changing one. So thank you, Siddhi, for sharing that with us.
Thank you. I think we can get to 84 in 3 months.
I think we can too, but that's our goal now, is 84 years and 3 months. I think we can do it.
That's not that far anymore. It's like, I'm like, okay, wow, less than 2 decades. I can do that. Okay, good. So I just want to present again, I spoke, the book, and we will put the cover again onto our site, breath, because I think it's great for all of us to read or reread. There's so much information in there. And the simplest posture or pranayama exercise he explains, and there is that you count to 5.5 on your inhalation and your exhalation. And I think that's for the remaining few minutes that we have, that's what we do. I also want us to connect the index finger with our thumb. Everybody knows, this Gyan Mudra. So here you stabilize and balance the air, because you activate also the lung meridian here. So then you just rest your hands on your knees, on your thighs. You close your eyes. And then you count to 5.5 on your inhalation, mentally recite the numbers. And on your exhalation. My teacher always said, your breath is bringing you home so that you can touch the essence of your being. So I invite you this morning, in our last few minutes, to really be in touch with the essence of your being and coming home to yourself. Letting the breath guide you home. And then take a few breaths without counting and see if you can keep approximately the length of the inhalation and exhalation equal. And then from here, we're gently bringing our hands into prayer pose. And maybe throughout this day, you take moments where you consciously are sitting still or standing still and just coming back to the 5.5 breath count. Because, we need to really repeat this consciously to create a new habit and a new pattern. It's not coming automatically. We need to create awareness. So that's why we sit and do pranayama, so that we can create the change. Inhale. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you for joining. Have a beautiful weekend, and we see you soon.